board. And we got this. All right. So thanks again. Happy Friday to each and every one of you. It is May 20th, 2022. We're right at the end of the month of May. So I want to introduce you Champagne Mora. Champagne is with the KW South Bay office. She's an amazing professional, and she is going to provide you with some wealth of information. So Champagne, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I started in the business back in 1999. I feel like I should bring in some old stuff, old music with that. But I kind of started prior to that in marketing and sales for Time Warner. I was the marketing director. And I feel like that career kind of prepared me for the real estate career because I had met all the glass ceilings. And when I came into real estate, it was only out of a fluke. I'm one of those typical stories where I'm working with a realtor to buy my first property. And I'm like, hey, I could do this. And I actually was a little bit more aggressive than I had two agents. And I was working on a foreclosure. This was in probably 96. And shortly thereafter, I said, you know what? I think I can do this. So I started doing the whole real estate, and I did it what was called part-time, which, as we all know, you really can't do this part-time. I mean, it's good to start and get your foot, in the water, but I started part-time, started doing that. And then I just had that passion for wanting to help other people, which I think is the reason I got into the business. I felt like the real estate agents that were assisting me, I was just another person, another number, and it wasn't as deep as I wanted to go. And I think that was, for me, the important thing, finding your passion, what it is that you enjoy doing, and then just rolling with it. And then everything else will just fall into place, because those systems and everything else that you do in terms of real estate and sales and so forth just come in naturally because you enjoy doing what you do. I was working at a company called Century 21 when I started the business. And I also realized there wasn't not too many people that were willing to help. Everybody was kind of like, I got the way I do things and it's successful for me, but it was kind of like, I'll keep it to myself. And I found myself in a position of helping other people at Century 21 that were new agents. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much that when Keller Williams came to me and said, hey, why don't you join our team? It was about the time when the short sales had come about, right? And I figured, well, I was doing them all along, and Keller Williams needed someone that was going to be a short sale specialist. So I came on board with another office, a Keller Williams office, and did short sales, taught people how to do short sales there. And I enjoyed it because through the process of teaching others, I actually learned a little bit more. So it was kind of a twofold thing. I enjoyed it so much so that I became proficient at doing short sales. And then, of course, I've come over here to our Torrance office and just enjoy the process. But for me, I think the heart of where I started, and I think everybody has to kind of have their own little area of where they want to start. I was always better face to face, or what they used to say, belly to belly, because working with people directly, face to face, people can see who you are as a person, and they can see the intention and how you want to help them. So that's what's worked for me so far. I've incorporated other things, but I think that everybody's going to have their own little area of their comfort level, if you will, whether it be door knocking or advertisement.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you, Champagne. So you said you started in 1999. That's when we were kind of transitioning into the technology aspect, right? I think you came in right at the cusp when the MLS transitioned into online.
Right.
How was that experience? And then also you went through the 2008 market too, the meltdown. Tell us a little bit of how you transitioned yourself, as an agent during that time, and ultimately that made you where you're at now.
Well, that's a great question. It's funny because when I got into the business, of course, everyone thinks that they can do it, right?
Sure.
And we wake up and we just go in their backyards and start sweeping all the dollars from underneath the tree. But very quickly, what had worked in business for working for someone else, definitely I applied all of that to this business, because how was I going to make that kind of money without kind of applying the same thing? I mean, I can't just decide to do it tomorrow. I had to do it then. So for me, I did not take anything like I can do it tomorrow. I just kind of said, okay, I have to do it with the same urgency as if I was working for someone else, because now it's all on me, health benefits, everything's on me. So how was I going to pay for all of that stuff unless I actually took it with the same urgency? So I was always trying to do the next thing. Like, I would always put myself, even if I didn't have an open house, if I didn't have a listing, I went and found a listing that someone would let me hold open. So, and if I didn't have any set up for this weekend, it didn't mean I wasn't going to go ahead and do real estate. I was doing real estate within my parties or anything else, anywhere I could go and do my hustle, if you will. And I just needed an audience. And there were times where, you couldn't get an open house. So I would go and try to put an open house or a first time home buyer seminar together. In 2007, 8, 9, when I saw the market changing and I started seeing things pop up like short sale, short sale, short sale. I'm like, what the hell is a short sale? I didn't even know what that was. And again, I was at Century 21. The lack of education there was huge. And I just kind of had to figure it out. And I made a lot of phone calls and I would talk to a lot of banks. And believe it or not, they educated me through the process because I was so willing to learn. I didn't come across like, oh, I've been in the business for XYZ years. I came with the business of, look, I want to really wrap my hands around this. Tell me what I need to know so that I can be successful to help you, help me, help you. So I just kind of took it with a grain of salt and just started absorbing all of that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I do remember the 2008 market, and a lot of people either exit real estate or anchor themselves and went back to the basic fundamentals, right? Prospecting.
Right.
And doing short sales. I remember there was a lot of real estate agents trying to tap into it, but there was only a few that were at a high level, really making a success out of short sales, because they can be tedious, right?
Yeah.
And it can be a very long process to get someone approved.
Yeah.
So it took a very unique person to be able to do that, right? Because you were battling not just the banks, but the asset managers and
Yeah.
back and forth, and ultimately strings of documentations just to get the approval, right, to short sale. And going back, yeah, there was just a handful of people that, in my eyes, were really at a high level doing a fantastic job, made a lot of money from it. And you can see it from two different perspectives, right? You can see it from the down market or the up market that we had in the last 2 years. It doesn't matter. As long as you're
Right.
doing the necessary activities, you're going to survive. You're
Right.
going to survive. So beautiful. Awesome. So now let's transition into pandemic mode. 2 years ago, how did that experience impact you? Was it a win for you? Did you have some setbacks? And then we'll transition into the current stuff you're doing right now.
Well, I'm actually glad you brought that up, because I think everybody has a story that they tell themselves, right?
Right.
So I told myself the same story most of the global world told themselves, that's it, and I'm sorry, did you say something?
No, no,
Oh,
no, go ahead.
so telling yourself that story was, it also depended on you if you were going to buy the story. And I think I bought the story for a few months and then realized, well, yeah, but you know who didn't buy the story? My mortgage company, the electric company, the gas company, my my car note. They didn't buy the story. They still want to get paid. So I started, just working, just going back to work, being safe about, working, and um, told myself a different set of stories. And as a result of it, I started doing very well, and it did help to have that different mindset. And of course, in 2021, when we still in the pandemic, I had one of my best years in a long time because I had told myself the new story, which was I'm going to go out there and work. And all the other people had told themselves a different story. They were still stuck on, oh, well, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Nobody wants to buy anything, or they lost their jobs, or, whatever that story that they told themselves. There's plenty of buyers out there. There's plenty of sellers. And I think because you go through these different phases of life, whether it be um, a recession, a pandemic, short sales, what have you, you start realizing that um, they're all great excuses. They're all fabulous excuses, but it's what you decide to do with that. What are you going to do? What's the next step that you're going to do? How are you going to pivot to doing short sales, for example? I mean, I didn't know what a short sale was, and knowing the importance of not focusing on the one, because it was going to take you a year perhaps to get that short sale completed. So put a few in your funnel so that you could go ahead and have a couple of close later on, because by the time you get the second approved, maybe the first you need to go back to and say, hey, listen, can we get this reapproved because I got the second approved, you know and knowing that this is what we do, and we're going to have the 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 greatest thing about this job is that you make a great income if you apply yourself. Also, the most horrible thing about this job is that if you don't do what you need to do, it could be the most horrible job that you could have. And you could always tell yourself that story about how, you tried real estate, but the word was try. You didn't really do. And doing it is I think the most important. And I think that when you go through these different phases, you're like, oh, thank God I went through the recession. Oh, thank God I actually learned how to do a short sale. Oh, thank God I got through the pandemic. So now you've got this, another notch that you can say that you superseded that mindset.
Love it. And it's funny because that's what we talk about on a regular basis. It's all about the mindset, right? You said something very interesting, which is so true, is, you can make a lot of money in real estate if you're doing the necessary activities, but you can also not make any money if you're not doing any activities, right?
Oh,
And
absolutely.
it's a give and take. And this is why we try to pour into our agents the importance of doing what is very lucrative in our industry is the daily activities, and you also said when you didn't have any business, you were doing open houses, asking for business, right? Asking other agents as well. And that's very important because that's where you start building some traction and momentum into, your lucrative business if you choose to do so,
Yes.
So awesome. What is your one of your strengths and your weaknesses that you have? And I know, Champagne, you've been doing this for quite some time, but all of us have our strengths and weaknesses, and just the vulnerability of it. If you can share what those are.
Well, I think my weakness is initially is that starting, you know, just the starting. Because once you start, it's funny because, and you've seen me do this. I'll have nothing, right? And then all of a sudden I've got a whole bunch of them coming through all at the same time. And you're like, how are you getting all this business? Like, where is it coming from?
Right.
Well, it's just the initial starting, because we all get to that place of like, oh my God, I'm burnt out. I just want to break, what have you. Or in my case, I've been sick, but we all have those excuses. And then we tell ourselves that story. And then we say tomorrow, I'm Latin. Latinos are notorious for mañana. So just that initial, I think is my weakness. But once I'm going, it's on like Donkey Kong. So I guess my strength is, let's get this done, let's get this done, let's get this done. And I don't put any obstacles in front of me. Now it's not even like someone will say, well, that's almost impossible to close that transaction in 14 days because it's being financed. I'm like, well, we'll see, right? Like I'm very much an optimist. I will go with it 100%. When I call agents, I'm trying to tell, like Donkey Kong, I said, I comment, Camilla. But I try to make it as easy as possible. When I call agents, I'm like, hey, how can we make it a win-win? Because I don't want to come off like that agent that knows everything, because I don't know everything. Something else is going to pop up that I'm like, wow, I've been in the business for 23 years and I've never seen that. So there's no such thing as that. We're all learning. And if we could just be good to each other and help each other out, it's a done deal.
100%. Yeah, love it. And it's funny because I know you, and I know you so well that once that switch is on, it's on. And when that switch is off, it's off.
It's off. It is off.
But you're also a great negotiator, and I know this is because the way you approach everything, you're very calculated. And that's a very key element or key component in real estate. For me, it's always the win-win of all transactions, right? What is it for all parties? And I think
Right.
you're the same way as well, is, how you are thinking 2 steps ahead of the game, right? And only to see how you can continue, because your daughter is also in real estate and also with us. You've given her some hard lessons and the importance, so tell us a little bit of your tactics, your finesse, and how you charm your way to close the deal.
Well, I can't give all my secrets now. No, you know what?
10 minutes to do so.
I got to tell you, it's so funny because every person's different. I don't really have, okay, I just like people. I really like people. So for me, it's not the finesse of it all as much as it is, who is this person and how can I communicate with this person effectively so that they can see that I'm coming from a place of contribution and I'm not trying to do anything other than help them, help me, help them, help me as well. So whether it's an agent or a buyer or a seller, I'm always looking for that next step. Like you say, you kind of have a calculation of like, oh, well, they want to sell their house and they've got 5 offers, but I have this story about a cat where this older man was really sad about leaving his house. And I could hear him talking on the phone, and he was talking to someone, says, I found someone for the dog, but I can't find anyone for this cat. Well, you have to understand, this cat looked like the cat from what is it, Alice in Wonderland, the big cat that's like 30 pounds. It's huge. Nobody wants this cat. So I told my client, I said, hey, listen, do you like cats? And she's like, I love cats. I go, do you like this cat? And she's like, yeah, that's a cool cat. I go, let's write the offer with the cat involved. And she's like, what are you talking about? I said, just trust me on this. So we write the offer with the cat. Our offer was not the best offer. We were $5,000 below the highest offer. That was a $5,000 cat. That's why we got the house. because of a cat. So, I mean, finding a win-win for everyone for me is more important, because the other agent loves it too, because they don't have to haggle with their client, right? I like it because my client got the house, right? And everybody gets to be happy. Yeah, Camilla. Yeah, that's basically the way I really come from, that perspective. And I tell every agent, if nothing else, you're going to have fun working with me, because I try to make it as stress, because listen, this business is stressful and we're constantly looking for other opportunities. Let's make it a win-win for everyone.
100%. Yeah. Win-win for everyone. And that's part of our values, right? As well.
Absolutely.
It's funny. I love that story. Yeah. You know, as part of the stipulation, here's the offer. You know, we'll take the cat with it. It's pretty impressive. Yeah, awesome. Tell us a little bit about, you know, being a team with your daughter. How has that been?
The truth, or do you want me to go ahead and sugarcoat it?
Well, you know, because a lot of people do want to eventually team up or partner up, or even bring families. You know, the blunt of it, right? Sometimes the challenge is being a businesswoman and also being a mother as well, and the learning lessons that we give our children, which is important.
Well, I think in the beginning, I think it was much more difficult. As you know, teenagers or young adults, they decide that they know better, you know? And I come from that, you know, school, like, yeah, there are new technologies. Yes, we all have to learn those things, but some of the basics, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And, you know, I go back to when she got her real estate license. She wanted to go to college to get her real estate license. And I'm like, so do you want to go to college or do you want to become a realtor? And that was my question to her. She goes, well, I want to become a realtor. I go, but, you know, I had to break it down in those terms. And finally, when she realized she wasn't passing her test, I said, are you ready to do it the way I'm going to show you so you can pass your test? And she's like, yeah, let's do it. And so she thought she had nothing to lose, right? And then she passed her test. And Camilla actually was at my table when I was telling the group, oh, my daughter's going to take her license, and she hadn't passed a couple of times. So I was kind of hoping that she would, and she actually did. So it's funny that she's on this call. But real estate was kind of the same thing. She wanted to do it her way. And you know, what was I going to do? I mean, I can only answer any of her questions that she wanted, but for the most part, she was going to go ahead and work on a team with someone else. And I eventually said, well, do you want to work for someone else in corporate America and make a living? Or do you want to work for yourself and make a lot more money and keep it for yourself? And so this was a constant thing with us. We would constantly have this discussion. Now we have a very different discussion, and it's taken, I don't know, 3 years to get here. Now she calls me, she says, Mom, I have a transaction. This is a scenario. And I go through the whole thing with her. It, like, you know, this could be the outcome, that could be the outcome. And now she has a different set of, I don't know, first of all, expectations for me, like as if I have every answer. And I'm like, no, I don't have every answer. This is not as clear cut, because there's these other elements called the buyer and the seller, and they're going to have their own set of rules, right?
Right.
But I think that it's become a much more polished relationship. She's come a long way, and certainly she's learned some of those lessons, because, you know, I think leases got in the way and all that stuff. And I'm like, well, do you want to do leases or do you want to sell houses? So yeah, she's a lot more polished, and I'm thankful that she has this new career that she's embarking on. So we've become quite the team together.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Thank you. Before I open it up with any questions, What is one thing that you can share with the group? Any advice that you'd like to share with the group?
Geez, I don't know that I really have any more advice other than find the one thing, no plug on the book, right? Find the one thing that you're good at in terms of real estate and stick with that, master that before you add something else onto it. Because once you get that one thing, like if your thing is open houses and you do well, like when I started my career, it was all open houses. I didn't do anything else other than open houses. The basis of my business is all open houses. That is the foundation. Now that may not work for everyone else. They might decide that they want to go door knocking or cold calling or whatever that is that they like, they have a passion for. Now, the reason I did the open houses is because I could see their eyes, they could see mine, and you can establish a relationship better than you did over the phone, in my opinion. And when people can see you and see your intention, it's almost like a lock-in. I know that we sign these agreements to buy and sell and so forth, but I had never had done that until I came to Keller Williams because I never needed to. I had already learned how to establish that, loyalty in person. So for me, just find the thing that you do best and just repeat it and repeat it, repeat it, master that, and then move on to whatever else that you want to do, cold calling, door knocking, whatever it is.
Wonderful. Love it, love it, love it. All right, team. Well, this is an opportunity. If you have any general questions or specific questions for Champagne, this is the time before we close out the session. Any questions? I know there was a lot of comments. One was, they love the Donkey Kong. So yeah, we see Camilla here as well, saying about, yeah, that's true. Camilla's son is also in real estate and part of our team. So.
Oh, she's living with it now.
Alexandra, question.
Hi, Champagne, you're the best. I love that you said make it a win-win for everyone because then you're being a team player. But I don't know if you went through this in the beginning. Did you go through like your schedule? How do you structure your day?
Okay, that's a great question because I'm all over the place. So that's terrible to say, but I've gotten a lot better. In the beginning, it was funny. I was all over the place and I used every opportunity. I poured gas. I was talking real estate. I went to the local, there's a restaurant across the street from our office back in the day when I first started the business. And I'd sit there and extend my lunch to see who else would come in so I could talk to them about real estate. So wherever I could find an audience, it was real estate. I did a baby showers and birthday parties and I talked about real estate all the time, but I wouldn't bring it up. Like I wasn't that annoying real estate agent. I would say things like, back to what Simon says about being calculated. I'd be like, yeah, when they'd ask me my name, I'd say, yeah, my name is Champagne. And they'd go, oh, wow, that's a unique name. I go, it works in my business. And the natural progression would be, well, what do you do? Or I'd ask them what they did because then they feel compelled to ask me what I did. So I'd make it about that. And then I'd let them ask questions because people that are interested in real estate, they'll ask for a question. And anytime they ask any question, obviously you follow it up with like, well, why do you ask? Are you looking to buy something or do you know someone that's looking to buy something? And then that just generates a whole conversation in itself. Coming from contribution is a great thing.
Love it. Awesome. Alexander, any other questions? Cool.
No, I love that. It's just like kind of find ways to insert your conversation like about real estate everywhere you go. I think that's great advice. But no, I was a little more clear about your daily schedule. Like, do you plan the night before? Like, how does that work so that you can book appointments?
Yeah, I definitely plan a night or even sometimes a week before. And because if I don't put it on my schedule, I'm not going to do it. I'm really good at making up excuses. In fact, if you ever need an excuse, call me. I'll come up with one. But I will call like my source, if you will, to get like some phone numbers and what have you. I'll cold call for a little bit. And or like today, I have scheduled to call a couple of agents to try to get an open house. And just different things like that. If I don't do it, it won't get done. I'm doing my flyers as well because I send to 2 different areas. I farm 2 different areas. So yeah, I need to schedule it because if not, it's not getting done. This was scheduled and we try to get on the phone at 7:45. And if you don't have it on your schedule, it's not going to happen.
100%. Awesome. Good question, Alexandra. Anyone else? Cool. All right. Well, Champagne, I appreciate you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I appreciate you too.
Thank you, Champagne.
Yes.
Hi,
Thanks
Camilla.
again.
Hello. Thank you for giving me hope that my son who just got his license, there's some hope that we're not going to kill each other before he gets it.
Oh no, you'll want to kill him.